What is up, bubblers? Welcome to Pro NoCoders Office Hours, episode 226. My name is Cameron. I'm going to be your host today. Currently, there are no members with us. It's just me, myself, and I, but I'm going to take this opportunity to work on some stuff, get to see my thought process, and I'll see how we handle things. If this is your first time tuning in, office hours typically as individuals, our bubble community, they join us and we help them with all of their problems. We try to help them with all of their problems. Our saying is, at least you won't suffer alone. You can bring your bubble bugs, questions, comments, concerns right to us, and we'll do what we can to help out. With that, though, let's go ahead and get started. Let's take a look at what I'm doing. And I am building a Wordle clone. And so I had just built this on a free version, just ported it over to our agency plan. And so we can see that there's some stylistic issues, some styling issues. I am a bit new to the responsive layout, but we're trying to get it. So I'm just basically experimenting with the right way to align these items together. We have a static image, a static group. These are basically just the squares that you see when you actually go to Wordle. And let's do just that. Let's go take a look at Wordle. So mine is a little different. There are 6 rows. I only have 5. But let me go back. You can still see here, it's here. These squares exist. And so the way that I'm doing this, I'm sort of doing like a hack, if you will, where we have this static group. These are just regular groups. Don't pay attention to the names. Didn't really name them that well, but let's do Wordle static group. These lay in the background. They're a fixed position. I've done some CSS to actually make it to where they are positioned absolute. So if we take, let's go to this group up here. I'm taking a look at this group. And just take this is position relative. Okay. So how can we get this to line up with those? Probably do 20. So 40 pixels down, and then to the left, it looks like 1 pixel. Now, I don't like this method because it's fake, basically, is what it comes down to. So we're going to refresh this. I want to be able to do this natively with Bubble, but it looks like I have some horizontal scrolling going on, which is weird because my body should have overflow hidden. So what's giving me that horizontal flow? I'm not seeing anything that's really giving me that horizontal flow. That's really interesting. Let's go ahead and okay, so when the viewport shrunk horizontally, it doesn't look like, at least on desktop, that we're going to run into that issue. Okay. You can see here, though, with the responsive editor, what's going on, which is very weird. So we'll take a look at the main container. And I originally created this in the old design editor, and then I converted it. So these names, row 1, box 1. Then we have the group. This container here is going to be holding our static board and our repeating group board. Call this board container. Okay, so board container is set to align to parent. Its parent is aligned to parent, and it's in a column. So we're in a column. Looking all the way at the top, that's how we want it positioned. Just taking a look at the margins over here. I'm just seeing if there's anything. Let's put that in the middle. I guess it doesn't really matter where that is. Okay. This is a row with a fixed width and height, not a problem. And these are just all the repeating groups. We can actually rename this. So letter 1, letter 2. Naming convention is pretty important, not gonna lie. It does help you or anybody else that's gonna come in after you. It's gonna help them just understand what's going on. It's very, very easy to just go ahead and build something out, not name it, because you're in your design flow, you're in the editing flow. It makes sense, but you're shooting yourself in the foot when you don't properly name your things. But okay, so I'm still very confused. Not gonna lie, I've been on office hours several times saying I'm not super familiar with the way that this design editor works. I'm familiar with the CSS Flexbox properties. Not a problem there, but Bubble does it a little different. So let's take a look at this the biggest container. With this set to 100, it is a fixed width, and I doubt this will change anything, but we'll just say it's at 100% max and min. What is holding this up? Because it's weird when I even click these arrows, nothing changes. Fix it. No. And so we had just taken it from a free plan, put it on the agency. And then when we did that, Bubble said, hey, we're just going to mess up some stuff. Let's go ahead and refresh this. See, maybe it was just a design bug. Ah, it was wonderful. Okay. We like that. We like that. So we still have this minor issue here, and it's not super big, but you can see that there's some overlap. And honestly, we want to get rid of that. We can do that with CSS, but we should also be able to do it right here. And using CSS is so easy compared to this crazy dude. Let's put this at 38. Ooh, 40, 45. 46, 48, 50. I don't think this is going to look right. Nope. So I'm probably going to do just that. I'm going to resort to using CSS. I do have a CSS style sheet in my header already that I've been using. And I'm going to go into the design or the inspect. I'm just going to see what I need to do. I'm going to make sure I go to the one that is positioned to absolute already. And we're going to change the top of this to where it needs to be. It just seems so far down. So it would be 50 pixels that we need to shift. I don't want to shift my 50 pixels. So what's going on here? Margins aren't changing. And then if we get rid of, where am I looking? If I get rid of this, it just shifts it back up all the way to the top. So it does look like we have a margin of 20 pixels associated to that guy. I guess it's really associated with the parent container. That's just giving some space for the header. Can't do negatives, okay. That's just gonna increase the okay. Let's get rid that didn't really change anything. It does make it a little easier for us to see what's going on, but it doesn't really change anything. You can look at do we have padding? Maybe that's it. We just have margins set. So there is no padding. There's the margin of 20 we're aware of. That shouldn't really be adjusting or affecting, rather, the way that this information is displayed. Whereas this has 15 and 32. Bubble, why? Why, dude? Why do you gotta do this? So if we just get rid of this, does it change? It doesn't change, but I realized that did nothing because we have to do that. We have to click the button that says, no, don't load. This is in a row and it's not showing up. Now it looks like something else changed. And these are all percentage based. Percentage. More percentage, okay. Could just be a console or Chrome DevTool error. That's what's really strange. It's almost unreliable using the response of the inspect element. You can see how it just warped itself. It's not even, it doesn't even change when you refresh. You literally have to refresh the page and then go back into the element you were looking at. Let's not hide this anymore. It's breaking everything. Okay, I don't like that. Don't like how it's working, or how it's not working rather. Um, there's a way to fix this, and I don't really want to. Well, and then I don't want it to be like this. And the reason why is because I want to be able to use what Bubble has here, and I want to, have it work. I want to be able to look at the design element, and I want to be saying, hey, this is how it should be. Or we could set a max height to this and a max height to this, and maybe that'll change it. Well, we are still learning how to use this guy. We're making art now. Hmm. So why now though? What's going on here? My width should be at 100%. It is. Then I go ahead and say I want to align the containers inside of it. But notice how I put it right in the middle and it shifts over to the right. I wonder if this is another bubble error. We'll go ahead and refresh this page. And it does seem to be another bubble error. And I'm almost wondering if that's the case of what we're experiencing here. Look at the header as well. The header wasn't like that. Now the bubble logo and the button are being truncated. They're being cut off. Drag that down. Weird. Okay, let's take a look. Seems like we're missing a bit of some CSS. We're going to do a lot of Control Z's until we get that CSS back. Oh no. We have gone all the way back. We will go back until, let's do, I think 11:20. 11 o'clock. Okay, so today is the 11th. We are going back to okay, not good, not good. We're gonna go back even further now. It's only appropriate. We are going to go to $10.50, I guess. We don't need the scale. We do need the style key. This just doesn't look like it's going to really change much for us, but okay. I've just been running into a bunch of bugs with Bubble recently. Okay, well, that's so weird. So now it works. Okay. I'm not even going to question it. I'm just happy that it works. I do want to see, actually, I'm going to question it slightly. If we get rid of those, does that throw off the styling for everything else? No, I'm going to go on. This was a bug from the ports specifically. I don't think that we had any reason to experience that apart from Bubble just misbehaving. And now I can actually show you what I have been working on. It's a Wordle clone. So it's a little bit different. Obviously, we don't have these items anchored to the bottom or pinned to the bottom. But what we do have is a very similar setup to Wordle here, where there is the keyboard with the backspace and enter, and of course, the board itself. So we're gonna probably implement some kind of user system. There are leaderboards here, or statistics rather, and then settings to change, well, hard mode, dark theme, and so on and so forth. And then, of course, you can go back to their other word games. Now, what we did here, and you had maybe seen if you were watching, in my design tree, my element tree, there are letters in repeating groups. Letter 1, letter 2, letter 3, letter 4, letter 5, inside another repeating group that's searching for a word, basically, or searching for a word submission as the records are set up in the database. And I'll show you real quick. Actually, don't need that. We have the user, cool. And this is where we're going to put the statistics for the user. So how many times they've gotten things correctly, how many times they haven't gotten the word at all, how many, like if they guess 5 times and none of them are submit, we're going to add a tally basically. We'll be able to calculate how many games, so on and so forth. This is the word list, a bunch of words in there. Word of the day, which just includes the word, and then the word submission. So we're measuring the attempt, the date text, solved, submitted, the user, and the value. Now, we actually don't need the date. We're using a date text to reference. Oops, we're using a date text to reference when this item was created with a custom date format of the month, day, and then year. So it's pretty simple, pretty straightforward. But I do want to show you here. So let's go ahead and get rid of these attempts. This is the word. The word is tough. And then this is the word list. I found a very awesome collection that is used by those in data science of a bunch of 5-letter words. And so I said, all right, let's put them in there. And that's what we did. So we'll go ahead and refresh. And I want to show you mechanically, it works very, very similar to Wordle, almost the exact same way. The difference here is we're still getting the enter button down. Since we're hiding the input field, pressing enter doesn't like to work. But you can still type. Let's go ahead and refresh this because I just deleted those records. But you can see we can type. And it looks like there's a tiny bit of a border issue here. We could probably fix by moving it to the left 1. I don't know why that would be the case. I guess I see it. I see it. Okay. Okay. Go ahead and submit this word. There is a G located somewhere in this puzzle, but not in this spot. And we all know the word is tough. But highlights the word. It's pretty cool. It looks at the index, and I can show you the conditional logic. It just looks at the index, compares that, and says, hey, does it exist? And if it exists, is it in that actual that index of the letter? But cool. Let me go ahead and actually show you something else. So just like you had seen where I was typing in random letters here and it said not a word, we also have something that says that here too. So very cool. And then let's go ahead and do let's do the word. So TOUGH. And that is interesting. I'm running into a bug here. We all know right when I do this, it's not gonna matter anymore. gonna work, watch. Yeah. So when the input value's number of characters is 5, and the input value extract with regex count is 0, and search for words list first item words list extract with regex count is greater than 1. And so what this basically means is, does this input value have 5 characters? And if it does have 5 characters, are we getting anything with the space? And if there's no space, cool. I'm sorry, a reject pattern. This is just a word, I believe, actually. Let's look that up. Actually, I use this guy here. W is anything that's not a word, basically. That's what it says. It's not a word. So if that's 0, cool. And what we're doing is we're searching for the words list first item, because that's just, it's all stored in 1. Then we extract with regex, and what we're doing is we're passing in this actual word. You could do this with find and replace. I'm almost positive. I like using regex just because of how powerful it is. Truly, we are able to identify at least one word that uses, and there should only be one word. They're unique, but it is greater than or equal to 1. Perfect. So we then go ahead and set the state of the entered, which allows us to then show that toast notification up top. We're going to make changes to the parent group submission. And of course, we're going to reset it when the previous condition is true. And I said a lot of those conditions, they're a bit redundant just because initially, as I was building this out, it didn't matter if I had those conditions on the first, second, third, fourth, it just ran through. It was processing it so fast, it didn't time to actually take a look at that logic. So I wanted it to be especially redundant and try to get it to actually work. So one of the things that I am worrying about here is it said that was attempt number 4. Was that attempt number 4? No, that wasn't attempt number 4. Let's see. All right, sure, I had to close my door real quick. Okay. I don't know why it would show attempt number 4. Huh. Okay, but it removes the keyboard after that attempt, or after it's successful, and we can see that solved is yes. So boy, oh boy, there's a lot of workflows here. A lot of different workflows. So when enter is clicked, so this is if enter is clicked and the word doesn't actually match inside. This shows the toast notification, but when we actually solve it, so when result 2, this is this word submission's value is search for word, first item's word. So when my submission, when this value equals this word, that's when it's solved. And it is a yes. So what we have to determine here is how or when we create a new word submission. So I think that the easiest way would be to, when we'll do a search for word submission where the user equals current user, the date text equals current date time formatted this way. And I'm in Arizona. And solved equals yes. You just say when it is 0, this will go ahead and create. And what we're looking for, what we're really comparing it to is solved. So has it been solved before? And if there is a solved, then it won't create a new one. So the best way to test this out is going to be deleting these attempts. Go ahead and refresh it one more time just to make sure it loads. And then we will type in tough. That is not an invalid word. What in the heck? That is because I typed in with my keyboard. Pretty strange, not gonna lie, pretty strange. Okay, cool. So it doesn't create another attempt. This helps us narrow down our records, makes tracking the data just a little bit more easy. We'll be able to actually then reference the total sum of the submissions to be able to find out your average, to find out which attempt it was, what your best, most often attempt is in solving it. Does that make sense? Figure out when you solve it based on what attempt number. I think that's English. Okay. So I do want to do this real quick. Look how ugly this is. Why is it doing that? So it did create another attempt at 11:34, just right now, probably when the page is loaded. So I have a pretty interesting conditional here. This I know was, so we have two created word submissions, one where a user is logged in and one where a user is not. And so it's looking for, oh, okay, that makes sense. So it's looking for if it's been submitted now. So if it's been submitted now, then it'll create a new one. Now, what we should probably be doing, in all honesty, is just looking at the user and saying, if the count is 0, probably be the best one. And I don't think we actually need this because we can change the way that this works from when we log in to when we log out. So because it's associated to the current user when we log out, then we're given the option again of filling out the word of the day. I think what's going to end up happening is we're going to create a pop-up to log in, basically prevent this page from being accessed. We're going to do word submission is 0. Let's get rid of that guy. Word submission count is 0. We shouldn't run into any other. So when we refresh it, this page should work, right? Perfect. We're going to go ahead and solve it. So now, why isn't it looking at that? So it's not submitted. So focus has been set on input. At least we hope, right? Because well, even then it doesn't really matter. Because if we click on something, it detects the input of the live text. And so if we go to our element tree and we take a look, where did I hide it? Live text is looking at input field. This is input field. So I have it looking at the live A's value. What if we change this to just input? Well, see, here the issue is I'm going to refresh it. Now it's going to work. See? So I don't want it to work. Let's go ahead and delete this, refresh. It creates us. Okay, see, and now we can't delete. These bugs, what's going on? Let's change this back to, let's Did it delete? 11:38. Yeah, this is it. Okay, let's do this. One of the bugs that have been running into Bubble is that if we refresh and we run on step by step, it runs slow enough that it actually works. I created this one. Okay, well, that it shouldn't have. Is that interesting? So even on page reload where there isn't a condition, we're running it so slow that it creates the condition or it creates the record and then says, nope, we're not going to create it. A bit confusing. Don't like it, but okay. So we click on W. I don't like that at all. So if you're noticing, we're saying change this value. We're just say change this value, append this letter to this value, to live A's input value. Cool. Okay. It's not showing up though. The reason it's not showing up is because we're cursed. There's really not a good reason. So the way that it's doing it, and I'm wondering if the page load is the actual issue here, where we do have the page load. So we're gonna create a custom event. We're gonna say we're gonna have this basically trigger. Create. Well, no, we don't need a conditional here. The conditional will run. It would help. Okay. So the trigger delays it. I'm wondering if that's also one of the issues, is that it's delayed. Because if I refresh again, I should be, yeah, then I'm given the option. So it creates it, doesn't instantiate it, doesn't do what I actually need it to. So let's do something else here. We won't do the create, but we'll actually put this first. And one of the things that I'm thinking about doing, even though this is redundant, probably not necessary, we'll put the focus at the end. So this will always create, it'll focus second, and then it'll focus again as at the last thing that it does in this workflow. We'll refresh. Would it help if I ran as this dude here? So word submission, this is me as the user. And it did create again, okay. creates that word submission. We have to make sure that this input word submission, parent group's word submission, search for word submission, user submitted no. And that's what it's like, because we're modifying the first item where it is submitted. Since it's only one at a time, we're able to look at it very sequentially. We're not able to actually, or we don't have to juggle things around. We're just able to look, when is this word submission going to need to be modified? That would be before it's submitted. And so since it only happens one at a time, there's only going to be at once, any one is going to be a no. Only one is going to be a no. I just don't like how I have to refresh the page after deleting. And this isn't really going to be anything other than, really from an admin perspective, somebody that has the opportunity to delete their records off the back end. This is really only going to apply to me in this case, but it's still very, very concerning here. I think that the best thing to do we could hack it even and put URL parameters on page load. And then if URL parameters are true, we could set focus. But before we do that, I think what we're going to end up doing here, we're going to delete this. We'll use our inspect element. We'll refresh the page and use our inspect element. Wait a second, it works. Maybe it's because I used my inspect element. So parent group's word submission is empty is probably one of the reasons why this is happening. The parent group's word submission. So I guess we could do a do and true where we change group word submissions. What would the do and true be? So do and condition is true. The condition is would be the best way to do this would be a conditional for word submission. And we'll just be really redundant with it. So it says, oh yeah. Okay, we expected that to work though. Now here's the issue. This is a word submission with the current user and submitted equals no. We add more conditionals where the value is empty. So again, I definitely believe this to be more of an admin issue than an actual user issue, because this bug presents itself when we're deleting and then refreshing. Now I have to think though, if a user comes from an area where they have never used this before, then does this occur? I just posted, or I just used this on a private browser, and it does very much seem to be the way that this occurs. So this maybe is not an admin specific bug. This could be a new user bug. So the way that I would solve this, and the way I want to solve it is, as you can see, by somehow instantiating that the data source is what we want it to be on page load, or when the user's logged in. But I guess the way that I would solve this is having a landing page. I want this to be the landing page is the issue. So if I want this to be the landing page and I want the data source to recognize that this is in fact a valid data source, search for word submissions is empty. I could do every 5 seconds or when page is true. I don't think this is going to be what we want, but do and true. And let's say this page is we are going to delete this. We are going to do a step-by-step and we're going to refresh this. Cool, page is loaded. The entire page has been loaded. We're going to display this now. Yeah, it can't be great. Submitted no, right? Users this guy, values empty. Users this guy, submitted no, values empty. And it is trying to tell me that it doesn't exist. The next thing that I could think about is creating two. So we'll remove this condition. This will be for testing. We'll just remove this condition. We'll paste it here. So now we should get 2 upon reload. We did get 2. And now it seems to work, right? And it looks like it's updating the first item naturally. So then we're going to delete a thing in the result of step 2. Very hacky way of doing it. I don't like doing it this way. So I still only want it to load. Okay, we'll try this one more time. I still think we're going to run into an issue with it. But okay, let's try it one more time. Bada bing, beta bing. Okay, no. So the way for this to work. Let's say entered as delete a thing. We're gonna. I don't like this at all. Search for. That's right. And then it changes that to that. And another bug. Okay, what's going on with this? So now it just loaded R. We all saw me type in ready and it loaded in R. Not only that, it accepted it and moved on to a new thing. I can type in a new thing. I don't like this. I don't like this one bit. I'm going to be honest. What if we type in? Okay, we'll just do ready. Oh, got it. Why? It doesn't seem like the bug is solved. And it looks like that introduced the bug actually. So we are going to not do that. Bubbling is fun. Don't let anybody tell you differently. Okay. Okay. Our words are disappearing after we click submit. And the reason why that would be happening, because the value that we're passing in is just the G. So something's happening or it's being truncated. So if we press enter, so anytime we click enter, it sets the state of it. I discovered that this is an easier way than having multiple different workflows. So we'll keep it like that. And then we make changes, this word submissions value. And we're just making it uppercase here. Okay. So we're resetting the group, changing the text. What if we put those further down in the workflow? Dun dun. Of course, we have to delete this. Yes, yes. There is what I'm clicking slightly different. So an icon is clicked. No, that doesn't even. Oh, let's delete. This is just the state. Well, you can see we have a couple different bugs that we're working through. It is a very fun process. What I will say more than anything, I know this has just been like me watching, or it's you been watching me thinking, like, how do we accomplish this? How do we do what we need to do here? This is the very least is my thought process. This is how I go through and get this at least going. So what we've tried to do is we've tried to set the data. We've said, let's see, maybe is setting the data potentially running this? Could you try another one? Argue. It just doesn't like the word argue. Okay, so it does match this information. What it does is it sets the state, make changes to the word submission, where this value uppercase. Now it has no value though. Explain to me how it has no value. I'm going to delete this and we're just going to restart basically. So we've removed all of the things as well to get that. What? All right, so we'll add these back. That's not a problem. Let's do that. Let's change that conditional that we had set. The conditional was on this guy. Conditional. Let's remove this. Go ahead and get rid of these attempts. Weird how it just created another attempt for me too, right? We got some freaky deaky stuff going on. That is for sure. We have a bug where you refresh it and it doesn't work, and then we have a bug where you type in the word argue and it literally disappears. Let's type in a different word though. So it's just taking the first letter. And I guess we could do this. It's uppercase because that's how the regex works. The function that I have for regex, it takes that. Looks for all uppercase letters. Okay. I guess this is going to be the way that we want to do it. So instead of taking the previous value, we take what's in the live text. Now, one of the things that I wanted to show you, because I'm about to sign off, we're near an hour here. One of the things that I did want to show you was where I started and how I ended up. So if we go over here and we take a look at this live, this is just such an old method. This is how I started, right? And doesn't register numbers, just letters. It's this repeating group here that is very, very interesting. So initially I started this up. I had my word submissions. My big group here, my big repeating group was a word submission list. And so 5 rows, 1 column. And then I figured I'd just be able to put another repeating group up here and then split my letters and then have each repeating group look through that. did not work that way. Well, at least it did. But the thing with Wordle is we're able to validate these letters after we submit them. With this, the way that it was working was that the colors basically validated almost immediately. I changed some logic around, so the example I want to show you here isn't actually going to work, but I do want to show you how we were able to accomplish this. And I laughed at myself when I thought of doing it like this. I thought it was so silly. It seems very backwards, especially when we're talking about bubble and we want to be, efficient. We want to be light. We want to make sure that we're not inundating the system with a bunch of unnecessary tasks. But alas, here we are. So these repeating groups are one by one fixed number cell repeating group. Each one is a different one. So what I want to show you here is we are searching for a word submission where the attempt is the current cell's index. So this is, let me make sure. Yeah, so this index is 1, this is 2, this is 3, this is 4, this is 5. What we're then doing is we're taking the actual text out of it, and we're putting it in uppercase, we're extracting with regex, and this is looking for capital letters, and it's isolating, it's creating a list out of all of the capital letters. And so out of this list, then we're taking item number 1. And out of this list, we're taking item number 2, and item number 3, and item number 4, and item number 5. And we're just iterating through this list of items, and we're saying if it is, of course, within this index, and it is this item, put it here. So it's very, very interesting. It's a definite different way of thinking about how to handle lists and items. But let's go ahead and just delete this real quick. And so next time I show you guys this, what we should be experiencing is, well, hopefully a leaderboard and hopefully some pretty cool stuff. I want to do a login system. I want to do a leaderboard system. I would love to introduce a hint system as well that at least shows where the letters, one of the letters may be, or it'll come up with a box under here and show you maybe like the vowel or something in the word. But so there's a lot that I want to do with it. It's just a matter of getting it done. So I'm glad that I got to showcase this at least today for you. I know it's not super in depth and we spent a lot of time just going over bugs, but let's do this. I would say thanks, but but cool. This has been tough. Nito Mosquito. Thanks, guys. I will be letting you go. If we did have viewers here for this episode, you all would be invited to the members would be invited to after office hours, where if you have a problem that you might not want to be made public, you can go ahead and take it with us in after office hours. We turn off the camera, turn off recording. It's just you and us. We go ahead and make sure that we get your problem solved. All right, guys, thanks so much for tuning in. And until next time, take care.